Hi guys, it's me, Anna Bloom, and I'm finally back with another video. I've had a lot of technical difficulties. I got a new computer, so I'm hoping that this one will like my editing software. So if you see this video, it does, and I managed to get this out. Today I'm bringing you my favorite books of 2018. It would be the books that I read in 2018 and not the books that have been coming out in 2018. Some of these are older books, some of these are newer books. It's just the books that I read in 2018. Starting off with number 10 is America's First Daughter by Stephanie Dray. This book is about American history. It's a historical fiction talking about the life of Thomas Jefferson through the eyes of his daughter, Martha Jefferson. I didn't know anything about American history, so it was really fun to read this book and learn about it through the eyes of the daughter. I don't know how much of this book was actually historically accurate, but I enjoyed reading it and learning a lot about the lives of these people. It was well written and the story was really interesting because you learn about the life of this former president through his daughter. You learn more about how she had to deal with the circumstances surrounding her father and slavery, and it is just a really well written book and I really enjoyed it a lot, so that's why it's on number 10. Number 8 and number 9 are both from the same series. I've put A Wonderlandful World on number 9, which is book 3 in the Storybook of Legends series of Ever After High. And I put the Storybook of Legends, the first book in the series, on number 8. These books were really fun. I don't usually read middle grade books, but this time I picked it up because one of my friends on Goodreads read this one and said it was a good one. One of my friends told me there was also an animated series for this, and I haven't seen that. I hadn't seen it when I went into this. I still haven't seen it, but there's also an animated series and there are dolls, I think. So this series is mostly a promotion, but it tells the story of Applewhite and Raven Queen, who are the daughters of Snow White and the Evil Queen. And they are at this school and having to live up to their fairy tale. So they have to sign their name into the Book of Legends and promise they will live out the same life as their parents did to keep the story going. But of course the main character, Raven Queen, isn't evil and she doesn't feel like being evil. So that's why this book describes her struggles with having to be this evil character while she isn't an evil character. And if living out your destiny is more important than making choices and being yourself. This is the first book in the series and it focuses a lot on Raven Queen as well as Applewhite, who really wants to live out her destiny and find happiness with her prince and her kingdom. And it's really an interesting book. I love the way it was written. There are a lot of really, bad puns in it that really made me laugh and I really enjoyed it. And as I was reading this book, I mentioned in my Goodreads review as well, my favorite characters were the characters from Alice in Wonderland, and that's in this book almost completely focuses on those characters, which is really great. And I also really enjoyed how one of the characters, Maddie Hatter, the daughter of the Mad Hatter, was able to hear the narrator, and she occasionally talks with the narrator. And this book focuses on all the characters from Wonderland, and although it doesn't really focus on this main plot, and as an end of the series it's kind of weak and that's why it's put on 9. But I really enjoyed this because we get more of the Wonderland characters and they are also interesting and funny. Because what they believe is normal from their Wonderland perspective and what other people think is normal is completely different. And in this book another character also can hear the narrator, and at a certain point they even have to change because the narrator gets affected by something, and then they have to, Maddie and Kitty Cheshire, the daughter of the Cheshire Cat, have to take over the part of the narrator, which is really interesting. And I really liked how their voices as narrator is different from the original narrator and from each other. So it's really well written. This book was written by Shannon Hill, and I really recommend them. They're really fun, light reads, and that's the back. They're really fun light reads and I would really recommend them, especially if you love fairy tales, because they are this new spin on the fairy tale characters, which is really interesting and I really enjoyed them a lot more than I thought. Number 7 is a book I read as a free ebook and it's called Flora and Fauna by Seiji Bernstein. This book talks about the Mandela effect and how different timelines and different events can still be remembered by people even though they are no longer accepted as history, This book talks about a group of people, the mountaineers, who are looking for these books they swear they've read, but they are no longer in existence. And it shows their struggles to find out what happened and where those books went. And while looking for these books, they found out that magic actually exists. And it shows their paths into finding what happened to magic and how magic used to be in the world and what disappeared. And the main character of this book, his son lost all memory of him. Like, even though his father is right there with him, he can't see him. And this father wants to find out what happened to his son. And so he looks into the things with the mountaineers. And this book was originally a forum-based game where the people on the forum had to solve puzzles. And just reading this book made me really sad that I only found out about it now, because I would have loved to be a part of this, and the forum still exists, so I loved participating on the forum. And they had this quiz about different magic houses, which sounds kind of Harry Potter but is really different, and I really enjoyed taking the quiz. There was a link to this quiz about the third chapter, so you don't know anything about the magic in this world yet, and you just get to experience through this quiz how the world that this magic is from is built, and there are these questions that don't make sense, and then you get your result, and it's just really exciting, and I really enjoyed that. So I'm looking forward to reading the next book and learning more about this world, because I still don't know enough. I really enjoyed it. Next up is actually the first book I read this year. I read it when I was back in the Netherlands with my family. Even though it's a Japanese book, it's Heart no Kuni no Alice, The Wind of Midnight, or Alice in the Country of Hearts, The Wind of Midnight, by Quinn Rose and Yukiko Uozumi. I've talked about the Heart no Kuni no Alice manga series in my favorite manga series videos, because I really enjoy this series so much. It's Alice in Wonderland set in this new world where everyone hates each other and tries to kill each other, and Alice is the only one who can actually die. All the others just get like reborn into a new version of themselves, so they see life as expendable, and Alice is the only one who doesn't, which is why everyone starts liking her, because she really likes them for who they are instead of their role they play. And this book focuses on my favorite character in the series, Boris Ere, which is why I enjoyed it so much. And it's just a romance story, but because it is about this world I really already loved, it was super fun to read, and it really made me want to read more books of the series. And I did actually read a few others, but they weren't as good as this one, so this turned out to be my favorite, and this is number 5 on this list. For number 6 I bring you The Raven Boys, the last book, The Raven King by Maggie Stiefvater. And I think I've talked about this series before on my channel, but it's been a while, so maybe I haven't, but I absolutely love The Raven Boys, and this year I finally got around to reading the final volume, and it was just so good. I loved it. There were so many plot points that all came together so well, and I just loved seeing how these characters grow. I enjoyed all the characters. I love Gansley, I love Blue, I love them all. I love Adam, I love Rowan a lot, and I love learning more about him, and this for me was like a perfect ending. A lot of times the last book in a series is really hit or miss, because the ending can really break a series for me, but in this case I just enjoyed it a lot, and I really love this book, so that's why this is on number 6. Number 4, I'm getting my numbers. I just really love the series, and I really recommend it. Number 2 and number 3 are again 2 books from the same series, and it's a self-published series. I read the first book for free and ended up buying the paperback version anyway, because I just loved it so much. It's Darkly Sweet and Dread the Light by Gillian Wicker. And I put Darkly Sweet, the first book, on number 2, with Dread the Light on number 3. But I love them both. Darkly Sweet was a book that stuck with me for a long time. I think I rated it 4 stars on Goodreads, because I wouldn't necessarily say this is a really good book. It's more a guilty pleasure kind of read, to be honest. But this book is about witches and wizards. Penny is our main character, who is a witch. This world has witches and mages, and Penny is going to this school for witches and mages in order to find a husband. And in this world, it's generally accepted that witches, as well as mages, they're all evil. They're really bad people. Everyone knows they're bad people. They themselves know they're bad people. And Penny, this witch, tries to act like she's a really cute, sweet, happy funny girl, but because you can read her internal monologue, she really isn't. And it's really interesting to read how she creates this character in order to find a nice guy to marry. And everyone she talks to is like, that's not gonna happen. If you're finding a mage, then it's not gonna be a nice guy. And the guy she falls for, Drake Huntsman, is a really bad guy. And it's really interesting to read about these very twisted people finding out they like each other and struggling with their feelings, as well as this world of magic. And I especially like just how everyone knows these are bad people. It's not like in so many romance books where this guy is a really bad person and everyone just accepts it as a romantic gesture. In this book, everyone knows they're bad guys. Penny often talks about how she's destined to fall for the most powerful mate, which also means she will fall for the most horrible person around, and that's essentially what happens. So it's a book that doesn't try to justify these bad things that these people do, because it's known they're bad. They're all awful, and it's so much fun to read. I've trouble describing this, I think, but it's a really good series. I really enjoyed it. Apparently I'm getting the third book for Christmas, so I'm super looking forward to reading it, because this is just my type of books. It's just, I loved it. I just totally messed up. This book is number 4, this book is number 3, and The Raven Boys was number 5. Yeah, I can count. I totally can. For number 2, I brought 2 mangas from the same series. These are the 2 I read this year. It's Tomodachi Game. I absolutely love this series. This series is about a group of friends who get sucked in this really bad game that's designed to break their friendship, essentially, in order to get rid of a debt they didn't even know one of them had. And it's just really twisted, really gory at times. It's super well done because it goes into this psychological aspect of how people change when money is on the line, if you can really trust your friends, and this game that just manipulates everyone against them, around each other. It's really, really interesting. It's really dark, and I really loved it. There is this series about it as well. It's on Netflix, so I really recommend it. The art style is kind of fitting to this series. It's kind of dark, it's kind of creepy. And the series as well as the movie are on Netflix. I really recommend it. And yes, it's just a great series. I loved it. Number 1 on my list, my favorite book this year, is one I read very early, I think in January or February. It's Itai no Itai no Tonde Yuke by Sugaru Miyake. It's literally, it means pain, pain, fly away. And this book is also kind of dark. It's about depression and abuse without romanticizing it. It's this book about a guy who's kind of depressed, and one night he gets drunk and he runs over this girl. And he kills her essentially, but this girl has this power, so she comes back to life and she can turn back time so that things didn't happen to her. And she forces this guy, as her murderer, to come with her to kill the people that abused her in the past. Because once she finally dies, because she actually did die, it's kind of hard to explain, but she can turn back her wounds so that they haven't happened yet. So it's not that it haven't happened ever. So these things are going to happen to her eventually. So if she cuts her finger, she can turn it back, and she doesn't know exactly how long she has, but for a few weeks, the cut will still reappear. So she is dead. So everything she does after she has died will not have happened once she actually dies. So that's why she wants to get revenge on all the people that have hurt her in the past, and she forces this guy to help her. And this is just a story about morality, abuse, pain, depression. It's really well written, really interesting, really dark, really sad at times, and I loved it so much. I recommend it to everyone. I don't know if there is a translation. I should probably have looked that up before, because this book is just so good. I don't usually pick up books that aren't from a TV series or an anime series that I've watched, so I didn't know what I was getting into, but this was the best book I've bought this year, and I loved it so much. It's so well written, it's so interesting, and I love how they give you a view of depression that isn't it's like you see so often in the media. This is a real painful book, and it's so good. Definitely recommend it. So yeah, that were my 10 favorite books of this year, and I feel like I've rambled a lot. I want to give an honorable mention to The Tenant of Windfell Hall by Annie Bronte, because I only just started reading it yesterday, and I feel like if I had finished it, I would have probably put it on this list because I already really enjoy it. But because I haven't finished it, I can't say that if it would be on this list, which is why it isn't. I hope you enjoyed this video despite all my rambling, and maybe you found a book that you think you'll enjoy, and I hope you'll pick it up and let me know what you think. Also, do let me know what your favorite books were this year and which books you are looking forward to reading next year. And I hope this video gets out because I'm gonna try editing on my new computer, and see you next time. I hope. Bye bye.